Welcome to Jazz Area, where we discuss everything Bay and beyond. Come walk with me, cause I'ma make you be better. Welcome to Jazz Area, where we discuss everything Bay and beyond. I have the phenomenal LaRussell here. I can't even do a whole full introduction. It's because you got so many accolades already.
Come on.
And you just start stumping out here hardcore. So I'm going to jump right into it because I got a few things. You had me rolling when you said you made a comment to someone else, and you didn't really have time to elaborate on it. But you said you start realizing when you are the person that you need to distance yourself from.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was so profound because it goes into self-actualization. What was the moment for you when you were or did you ever have that moment, or just were you in a space where other people, you realized that they needed to separate themselves from them?
No, that was deriving from me and my own actions in life and the way that I was living. Like you,
Right.
I've lived a life in a manner where it's like, if the homie was living that way, I'd be like,
Yeah.
You feel me? You
Yeah.
gotta be cool. You making it hot.
Yeah.
You feel me? So it derived from my own actions in life and how I
Yeah.
was maneuvering throughout my own journey. And I think that's important. You feel me? I feel like you're not growing if you're not constantly getting to a point to where the old you seems unfathomable to who you are now.
Yes.
You know, like sometimes we run into people like from way back, and they'll tell a story about me or say some shit that I did.
Right.
And it'll make me laugh because I'm so far removed from that person. Sometimes it's like a story where it's like, nigga, no way. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because I'm so far removed from who I was at one point.
Right.
And that keeps happening. You know, every year I elevate and scale into a new being. You know, I get new sales and a new life and a new beginning and chapter of who I am.
Right. And we have to, what you're doing, what I love is that you're showing other people that that's okay. Because you always want to be cool with the homie. But like you said, there becomes a separation, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
But we definitely have to be in that space where we're constantly evolving and taking people with us to do that, the ones that want to come.
Right.
Goldman Sachs did an article. I was in finance for a long time, and Goldman Sachs did an article about, it was in February of 2024, and it was talking about the economic disparity amongst Black business owners. And access to capital. We do know that that can be an issue for us at times, the people that want to have businesses and be successful. What do you think? Because I know you have vertical integration model for your business, which I think that is key to self-sustaining.
As long as you're you have some proven success, even if you don't have proven success, if you have enough belief and you can communicate what you're doing, you can get capital.
Yeah.
There's like in today's time, there's just so many places to go get capital. Like if you're doing merchandise, Shopify does loans based off the revenue that you're doing on their site.
Yes.
So as long as you can get it started and building, you can go get capital. PayPal does working capital loans, where as long as you're bringing in revenue, you can go get capital on that revenue. When you start using startup banks, like I use Mercury, they'll give you capital and lines of credit as long as you're generating revenue.
Got it. Yeah.
So the thing is, like, a lot of people want capital with no proven success or no revenue. You know, they want capital before they go sell 1,000 teas.
Right.
I sold 10,000 teas before I ever tried to go get capital from anywhere.
Right.
You feel me? So it's like you have to get it rolling first. No one wants to invest in something that's not yielding returns.
Got it.
And that's not just monetarily, like people. I don't want to invest in a person that's not yielding returns or that I don't foresee a return through.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing with these youngsters, man. It's like you just want, but it's like, what can you produce?
It's not just the youngsters.
And the OGs too. Yeah.
You'll find some old niggas in the hood who won't.
Yeah.
And ain't doing nothing to get it. You know, it's universal. It's not age based. It's across the spectrum.
It's across the spectrum. Yeah. You know, it's so funny that you say that because with the older generation is kind of a stuck in this space of this is the way that you do it. And
Yeah.
that's why I really wanted to talk about that too, like establishing your foundation and understanding that it's not just one way to get capital, because you always hear that
Mm-hmm.
across the board. Like you said, it doesn't matter whether you're young or old. You have to be able to establish something and move forward, get what you want to get, and then present that and say, hey, this is my product. This is what I'm doing. What's up? What can we do?
Yeah.
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 There's a quote that, as you could see, I have books, my kind of go tos: God's Perfect Way for You, Emotional Intelligence, 13 Resolutions for Life, Resolved. And then I have The Miseducation of the Negro.
Uh-oh.
And this was written, of course, in the 30s. But I wanted to hear what you had to say about a specific quote, just your personal thoughts. From literature, the African was excluded altogether. He was not supposed to have expressed any thought worth knowing. What do you think about when you hear that?
We were just having a convo the other day on like I read a lot of like Middle Eastern texts from
Yes.
like Sadhguru, Swami, and the Ikigai and shit like that. And their philosophy on life has existed for hundreds, thousands of years, right? And this is how like a lot of the world was built on these philosophies and understanding humanity and how people think. And we didn't have access to any of that.
Right.
We couldn't read any of that. So, they were given a head start years in advance before we could even open it. Like, forget reading it. We couldn't even open a book
Yeah. You
to
get your
try to
ass
read it,
whooped if you open a book.
So it's like now I understand like now why like my parents don't even see the world that I see it or have the same philosophy because this wasn't like passed down to them. This is like
Right.
knowledge that I had to go find, and it's like their parents, they're two generations removed from segregation, slavery, though
Yes.
slavery was over, like there was still slavery and they're only
Yes.
2-3 generations removed from it. So, it just shows how late we were to the party.
Mm, mm. And then you have you it's so funny, we're late to the party and you see them leaving the earth. You feel me?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's like, wait a minute now. I think Nas said it, we're like the teenagers of this earth. There's so much evolution that can be done. Your music, like I know when you got started and everything, and yes, we are from the Bay.
You heard?
It's wonderful. Our soil, I'm like, it's some rich soil out here.
Yeah.
We got some wonderful artists, very talented. When did you know not just what you wanted to do as far as music is concerned, but how you wanted to change the trajectory of the culture, really owning what we produce?
That's recent. Starting off, it wasn't really about shifting culture for me or
Okay.
trying to be impactful. I just wanted to do what I loved. I just
Right.
love to make music. I love to chill with my homies and make dope content. Like that was it. It was like let's make some music and hopefully we can make some bread from it.
Right.
And as I've grown and scaled and had to encounter the industry and meet new people and learn about the business and deals and how this work, and that's when it starts becoming like, oh,
Yeah.
we getting robbed. Like
Yeah.
you don't really see it as a problem until you realize it's a problem, and that's when that revolutionary spirit kind of takes in, and it's like you're either gonna do something about it or you're not. And for me, it's kind of hard to like play in the middle once I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel bad because I'll do an interview and I'll say something and I'll be like, I was a little harsh on the judge. Though I wasn't wrong,
Right.
just my delivery of it came off more harsh than I would like to because I'm so passionate.
Yeah. Like you said, you could just sit here and watch things just unfold and be a part of it and not really even agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, I don't really like that, but that bread is right there
And
on the
that's what,
table.
and I feel like that's what 90% 98% of us do,
Yeah.
because though it may be wrong, we're benefactors.
Yeah.
And when you benefit from something, you bringing up that is wrong don't really cross your mind, because you like, well, they still pay, they signed my check,
Right.
and that's a position that we've been in for so long. It's like you were a slave at one point, and you have to be cool with who you're working with, though you understand who you're working with is still in that you still have to use that rationale for your
Right.
survival. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's where we are today, because a lot of us are first generation accumulating wealth. Like a lot of my homies, sometimes I get around certain people and I hear their stories and I remember that we're all different. Like
Yes.
some people have successful parents that
Yes.
had business and corporations and had wealth. And
Right.
then they encountered that as a second generation, versus like the niggas I grew up with and myself, like I be forgetting that, like you'll get to talking to people and it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
a reality too, right?
Yes. Yes.
So all of this is new to us, to the point where a lot of us don't want to shake the table and risk the
Mm.
food that's on the table falling off.
Mm. And when you like, no, 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 I'm going to build this table. I'm going to put the food on it. I'm going to do all of that. And then invite people to come eat with me
You heard?
and sit at the table.
Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I love that about you. Like you said, you're just doing so many wonderful things. Do you think you'll still do your backyard shows? Because you just keep doing this. So
I'm coming up on, I feel like I got a couple more years in me.
okay.
And then I'll be closing that chapter. I feel like I'll be closing a few chapters in the upcoming
Mm,
years.
okay.
But I enjoy them now while it's present and it's here. That's why I really rally to make people come to me and understand how important and pivotal it is, because it won't exist forever.
Right.
Nothing in this
Yes.
world does. So while it's here, it's like, this is history. Come be a part of it and partake in it, because we don't
Yeah.
know when it's going to end.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it just keep growing and growing and growing. I
Yeah.
watched the juvenile backyard piece. That was dope.
What's crazy? Like, for you to say it's growing and it's growing and it's growing, because we do like this mind trick with the backyard. You
Mm,
could see that it's growing even though it doesn't grow in size. Like
come
I
on.
get bigger, but I don't scale up in
Right.
venue capacity. I stay in the
Yes.
small. So every time you see it, it's the same amount of people, but you feel like it's growing. And that
Yeah.
that just shows the power of what we're building, for people to
Yes.
see that cultivation thrive, even though they're not seeing 1,000 people there.
Yeah, it
They keep
doesn't
seeing the
have to
same
be.
amount, right? But
Yeah.
you can see the growth there still.
The pressure. I look at it like a lot of restaurants, for instance. They'll have this success with this small, it could be a hole in the wall or whatever, but they think, oh, let me open up all these different
Hmm.
venues now. And then it's like it doesn't have as much success. So it's not really about, like you said, it's the thought process, of course, your team, but it's bigger, even though the size is still there.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I
The
love that.
impact.
The impact,
The
yes,
impact.
of all generations, not just
We
not
got
just
one
the
of the
younger
only
ones.
hip hop shows that's 5 to 65.
Yes,
We go to a lot of shows, and it's seldom you see children, parents, and grandparents all enjoying the
yes.
same music in the same place. That doesn't really exist within our genre anymore.
Mm, that's the thing. You've broken that barrier, and you're doing it here in the Bay.
You heard?
And so I saw you talking to T Pain, and it's just like you got to come on tour. I think that is just so amazing. So when you say you're, that the backyard show, that's not going to happen forever. Do you see yourself still doing music, or do you see yourself going into a different space?
I'm probably always gonna do music in the background.
Right.
But I really want to, like, use my resources and allocation to push other artists forward and propel other creatives and just provide resource to people. And I'm doing a lot within my city to build infrastructure and cultivate the
Yes.
next generation. And I feel like I'm gonna go on a book run after. I was
Oh,
just I
okay.
was just looking up Krishnamurti. Are you
Yes.
familiar?
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking up all his books, and he got like 30 some. And I was like, man, he dropping
Yes.
them like albums, but it's because every year he live, he getting so much game. And
Yeah.
instead of harboring that game, he giving it to the world and you could do with it as you wish, but you know, it's helping somebody. So I feel like albums is one medium to connect to people, but everyone
Yes.
doesn't love music, you know, like it
Yes.
don't matter what I say in songs. So we was just talking yesterday, like sometimes I'll perform and there'll be people in the crowd just kind of standing still,
Right.
right? And T was saying, like, you know, for someone to not enjoy your show, even if they don't like hip hop, something got to be wrong with them because it's just
Yes.
entertaining and you're speaking truth. But some people, that's just not the medium in which they connect. But a book
Yes.
may be. So I could
Right.
say all these same things I'm saying in my verses, but put it in book form, and now it hits somebody totally different. So
Yes.
I really, I want to go on a book run because, you know, when I'm in spaces where I feel deprived of knowledge or I just feel depleted and I'm like, man, I need something, I usually go look for a book.
Yes. Yes. Books are very powerful. And I think it was so long with people of color, we weren't able to read. Then you shoving all these TVs and iPads and phones in the little one's face. Um, it's hard for them. It's hard for them to just look at the page and know that there's something
Mm-hmm.
in there for me. It
Yep.
doesn't look like everything else, but there's still something in there for me that I need.
Right. And there's usually information in there that doesn't exist within the iPad because the formatting is just different. You know, though everything is on the internet, it's really not. There's things that I find out in books that I just can't get to on the internet because you
Yes.
got to search for it. In the book,
Yes.
it's right
It's
there.
right there. Yeah. It's right there. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. So what do you have coming up next?
Uh,
What could we look forward to?
we got a Tiny Desk coming out.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
excited about that.
I
That was
love
a
it.
big move. You know, a lot of us from the region don't get to make it to Tiny Desk and
Yes.
let alone make it independently, you know, without any label or backing. So that's a special one. And we did something really great. Um, I'm building really dope things at home, really cultivating new things. We did our first like mini fest this year, and
Okay.
we brought hip hop to the fairgrounds, and hip hop hasn't been to the fairgrounds since the '90s. So that
Mm,
was groundbreaking, and it kind of opened the door for us to do it every year after. So
yes.
we're doing that, and just building the company, building the next generation to come after me, and you know we just keep putting shovels in the dirt.
Yes. Yes. Tell us about the importance of having good people around you, your team, building that team.
Man, I feel like it's the second step towards like your liberation and success. You know, step one
Yes.
is being a good person so
Right.
you could attract good people.
Yes.
And then once you become, you know, a good enough person to attract good people, that's the second step because those are your like representatives when you're not around or when
Right.
you're not communicating or like this whole ordeal you've been communicating with Tieta. And
Yes.
I trust that Tieta will communicate with you in a way that's representative of me. So when I come, you feel good about me, you
Right.
know. But if she wasn't, when I walk in, y'all might be like, this nigga here, you know, because
Yeah.
the people around
Yes.
you that represent you has a huge part in the success of what you're cultivating and building. So for me, it's very vital because I can't have every conversation or be present for every meeting or you know, even beyond the meeting, if you just run into someone on my team outside when I'm not
Right.
around, you're going to feel like you met LaRussell still. You're going to
Right.
get that same energy and feeling because that's who I surround myself with. So that's
Yes.
your representation of who you are. It's a reflection.
Yes. And that being a good person. I want to tap into that because I think being emotionally intelligent is super important. Not allowing emotions to be the forefront of your behavior, the words that you speak. I think you have a daughter, right?
Two,
Two daughters. How old are they?
12 and 2 months.
12 and 2 months. What are some of the things that you're able to share with them as far as emotional intelligence? Not with the little one, but that age, that's like the brink. We are just talking about that. Like once the kid turns 12 or 13, they just turn into a whole nother person. You just like, who are you? So as far as emotional intelligence, the crowd that you know around, you say of course you got to be a good person and making sure the people that you are with are representing you. like you say, if I'm meeting her, I'm meeting you. Somebody could feel like I met you as well. What are some of the things that you share with her?
My life. You know,
Yeah.
I don't and never have communicated with my daughter as if she was a child,
Yes.
really. Like the same way I talk to Splash and T and her mom, that's how I speak to her.
Yes.
So all the level of conversation always exists on the same plane. I don't
Yes.
speak to her like she's a kid, and I
Right.
ask her real life questions. We even do this thing like with her homework. At the end of writing questions, I'll give her a space to write like 5 questions about life that you're
Mm.
just wondering,
Yes.
and because I just like to see where her mind is. And she loved to ask me shit that I don't have answers to,
Yes.
but it's beautiful to see that level and that openness and the ability. And really, it's just me cultivating a space where she feels like she can ask me anything, whether I know it or
Yes.
not, and get a response no matter.
Right.
And sometimes when I give her that space, I'm always like this. Cause I don't know what she gonna ask. I
Yeah.
don't know what she's experiencing in life for her to come back and bring back. But she's
Right.
always bringing it back something that's like insightful, or it could be low level. But she's always curious about life. But
Right.
for me, it's just allowing her to experience me be a human.
Right.
I remember us having a talk one time, and I was telling her like, I'm your father, but I am a human.
Yes.
And just having that conversation with a child of like, this is a role. This isn't me. I am
Yes.
not the role I play in your life. I am me, the human, and we can speak at a human level. So,
Yes.
not to idolize me in a way because I'm a human, and
Right.
and, and we both learning and living the same life, as we go. And it's been really dope because she's a really pure understanding being. She probably teaches me more about emotional intelligence than vice versa.
They
but
usually
but
do.
yeah, just
Yeah.
allowing her to experience a human living.
Yeah. And knowing who to be around, who not to, and not to be judgmental either if someone is not moving
What's crazy?
at the same
She's so
space.
pure that like we was playing tennis the other day, and I was singing YNW Melly has a song called Murder on My Mind, and he be like,
Okay.
when I wake up in the morning I got murder on my mind, right? So I'm singing the song, and she stops me. She said, who wrote that? And she was like, they shouldn't say that. Like her
Yeah.
her her understanding of life as is, she's like, that's not it. That's wrong. Even if it's in
Mm.
music form, like that's not something we should be
Yes.
talking about and sharing to the world. And I thought it was a really beautiful moment.
I love that. But the fact that she said who wrote that.
She was making sure I didn't write, right? That was her first question. Like, is that what you own?
Yeah, wait a minute now. Hold on. You taking this
Who
a
wrote
whole
that?
nother route.
Right. Who is the composer of this art?
I love it. I love it. Yeah. They we always say this too. Kids don't learn racism or they don't know, they don't come in this world knowing that. They have to be taught that. So I love that you have those moments with her and you like, all right, that I'm not going to rap that no more. I'm not going to say that anymore.
Kids don't do as you say, they do as you do.
Yes. Yeah. And they have to be comfortable coming to you. I love that. I was always like the one in my family to take. I would take a few cousins, the girl cousins. So like they would be trips to colleges because my grandmother used to do that to me. Would always give us a bus pass, and we would go to Cal State Hayward. It's Cal State East Bay now, but we would go to Cal State Hayward. It'd be like 10 of us taking the bus up there, and it changed my thought process as far as higher level education. It may not even necessarily have to be college, but just making sure that I teach the young ones it's okay to learn. And like you said, I'm not this role. I'm a human. So you can learn from me, you can trust me. I just love that. I love that. I love teaching these youngsters how to move in life.
Right? We never supposed to stop learning. And I think that's where the education system, especially in the hood, fails us. Like me and T was
Oh,
talking to my mom the other day,
yes.
and I was just saying like our system is so flawed that I was a thriving student until middle school. I was always in gate classes and ahead of the
Right.
curve, and like they used to send me from my second grade class to go help with the fifth grade classes in math and stuff, you know. And then as soon as you get to middle school, it's kind of like you encounter the world, or you just everything is like thrown on you. So
Right.
it's like that passion that you once had for education and everything just kind of dissolves, you know,
Yes.
for some of us, or you become disconnected in it, you know. And that alters your perspective on learning. Like I didn't
Yes.
used to like to read because all throughout school I had to read things I didn't enjoy. So once I got out of school, I was like, I'm not trying to
I'm not
read,
reading
because
that.
you think that everything has to do with this. And then when I
Yes.
finally got back into it, and it was like, oh, I have a ruling and a say and a choice in what I read,
Mm,
it changes your perspective. But school, the education system doesn't always cultivate that type of experience to where you want to learn more.
yes. We were talking about that. I was talking about the way that everyone is taught in school, especially public school, is just terrible. But it is the constant, you just remember.
Hmm.
It's not really about learning. And then some of the stuff I was telling somebody, and no disrespect to any of the leaders that they have in these books. I love Martin Luther King. There are so many other speeches besides I Have a Dream. I'm like, if I hear this one more time, dude, like we ain't gonna talk about when he was at the church
Right,
talking. I mean, it's just so many other things that this man has done.
right.
And you're gonna reduce him to that, and then you're gonna play it over and over and over again. And these kids, you ask them a question, and all they know is "I have a dream" speech. And stop.
And you know, it's like some niggas don't like Martin Luther King because they think he's soft. Because you don't learn about everything he did, right?
Yes,
It always comes to the Malcolm X Martin Luther King debate, and we like, well, Malcolm X was revolutionary, and it's like, nah, Dr. King was with the shit too.
he
They just don't
was.
teach you. But it's also like some education has to be like brought out of the school and into the home. I remember
Yes.
I took my daughter to like an orientation, and there was an older woman who brought their kid in, and she was upset because she was like, y'all got these kids taking Spanish, and my grandson can't even read in English.
Come on.
And the teachers in the class was like, well, if he can't read, that's something that's an issue that should be encountered at home as
Yes.
well. That's not just on the school. Like
Right.
he should come here being able to do some things,
Yeah.
but we a lot of us, you either work so much or something that all that load is placed on the school, and it can't be,
Yeah.
because the people who created the education system that we thrive in is the same people that created other systems that.
Yes.
So it's like if we're relying on them to educate us and teach us as well, then that's also our fault.
So true. So true. Yeah, we can't just rely on them to do everything. We got to do everything we do. And as far as having those conversations when you guys are playing tennis or whatever you're doing with your kid, having those important conversations, letting them know that there are other leaders out here. And I think Martin Luther King and Malcolm X is so interesting you said that, because there were other leaders coming up behind them, before
Mm-hmm.
them, and some of them were like nonviolent ways of teaching, and then the other one was just like, look,
Mm-hmm. Crush them.
you crush them. They putting the holes on us, or just whatever that they're doing. You want to just combat that. What space do you think you're in mentally, as far as you've evolved out of that musically, right? But what do you think needs to happen right now, as far as socially, for our younger generation to thrive, to be able to continue to thrive?
I think they have to experience and encounter better leaders.
Hmm.
Um, I grew up my entire life knowing that some people made it from Vallejo, but
Right.
never witnessing it.
Mm.
I never met someone who was successful or famous or thrived in what they did.
Right.
in any capacity. I never
Right.
met a doctor growing up who was successful and you've seen it and witnessed it
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
And some of those people came from Vallejo. We had people who made it through music and through acting and through other things, but we just didn't get to experience them in the
Right.
same way. So I feel like when you don't have proper leaders, who do you follow?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Without a leader, it's like everything in disarray. We just running around the woods. That's why it's like, for me, the kids see me. My community sees me every day. Unless I'm on tour on the road, they see
Right.
me walking around, running at the store, at the food, at the school. I'm in the classes, and I think that is the first level. It's like your
Yes.
parents' job. The community is really your parent, and the
Yes.
and the job of a parent is to not punish you and all this shit. It's to guide you. You're
Yes.
supposed to be the guide in this life. So I just feel like we need proper leadership so we have the guidance and we know where to go and how to get there and what route to take, and someone to kind of, like I say, not punish you, but sometimes you need your path diverted and it's like, no, move this way. You
Yes.
feel me? I think we just, as a society, we just lack leadership. We don't have
Yes.
a, like, back then, if you was to say, who's your leader in Black America, people would tell you Martin Luther King, Malcolm X,
Yeah.
Bobby Seale, Huey Newton. They'll tell you a bunch of different names. It's like,
Right.
oh yeah, that's who we trust. If the world was chaotic and somebody had to jump on top of the car and speak
Right.
right now,
Right.
who the hell we want to speak?
Oof.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't. It's very hard
You.
to pinpoint.
We want you to speak.
And I'm one,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah.
like in today's time, it's very hard to pinpoint who do you want in that position.
Right.
We would all be fighting, trying to determine who need to go up there and speak.
And then some people just want to go up there and speak because they just want to be, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Some
what
niggas
do
just
you have
want to
to say?
dance.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, do you
So
have
it's
something to
like I
say?
feel like that socially is that's a anything that's a problem in a household is a problem in the world, right? And
Yeah,
if you can't encounter it in a household, you definitely not gonna be able to tackle it in the world. So if in the house you don't have a leader in this disarray, once you go into the world, it's
yes.
going to be a reflection. Like, when I used to go into the world as a kid, I was scared to cuss. Cause in that house, I used
Yeah.
to think my mama and my pop would pop up
Somebody.
anywhere, because that was the
Yes.
kind of leadership that existed in my house. It was like the
Yeah.
shit you do and the shit you don't do, and it's a way you carry yourself.
Yes.
Now you could walk past the elementary school and you hear shit that you don't even say in your own house,
Oh,
but it's like that leadership don't exist, that
yeah.
principle don't exist. So for me, I think that's what it is having that leadership that everyone feels good about following and who they are.
Right.
We went to the homie crib yesterday to pick something up, and he's Filipino, and his mother came out, and she has to at least be 60, 70,
Yeah.
right? And she just gave me like a whole spiel of what I mean to her and what the music means and how special it is.
Yes.
And this is a Filipino woman.
Yes.
Far removed, she don't even listen to hip hop.
Right.
But she understands the presence of LaRussell from what she's been able to
Yes.
experience. And like, we don't get that. They don't get that experience enough. I don't
Yeah.
have a rapper that means to me what I mean to people when I encounter
Right.
them.
Yes.
I don't get to go to hip hop shows and experience what people get to experience through mine.
Right.
So that tells me right there, like, there's a lack. There should never. I should never be the minority.
Right.
That should be the majority in
Yeah.
the mass. Like, that's what we should have so we can have direction. But it's lacking. We don't have it.
Yeah. And it's interesting you were talking about, you felt a type of way if you were cursing or anything like that, you looking around. We used to have those people outside of our homes too. You know what I mean? We had that neighborhood where,
Man.
everybody watching everybody. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? The comfortability, you going into somebody else's house and just be home before the street lights come on. And now you have these adults, like you said, you hear something and see something, you almost like, ooh, don't want to get involved in that, or
Yeah.
and that has to change too. You can't be afraid to speak up and just be present.
I feel like that fear derives from knowing we didn't do a great job. Like,
Yeah.
if you know you didn't raise your child well, then you nervous around that little
Right.
nigga. You like, you like, you can't even trust him
Yeah, you
because you
like,
like,
oh,
I don't know what he on. You feel me? Like that fear derives from
yeah.
a job not well done.
Like, oh, this nigga, he reckless. Just,
Right.
stay over there. That's a shame. And I've been around people, not now, but when I was younger, you growing into who you are and making sure you're in a safe space. And I done been in some situations where you just like, ooh, they not going the right route. And that starts at home. You have to recognize that. Not to be
Yeah.
judgmental, but no, ooh, this person is just busting the wrong moves. They don't want to live right, and separating yourself from that. You were also talking to a gentleman, you had a conversation, and you were talking about not giving someone the okay when you know that they've done something wrong and they're in your space. Having that homie like, I'm not condoning that. I think you had a rap about it too. Somebody, well, I don't want to say no names, but it was a gentleman that have done some things, and it possibly is on tape. And you were like, you can't hide that. You can't hide who, even if it's that representative. Now you can't hide it. It's out there. So I respect that, and I love that. I have a teenage son, and so for him to be able to watch you and to listen to you and to have that is so important, because even coming up, I would even say about the 80s and 90s, the music changed. It went
Yeah.
into like the gangster rap. And and we was bobbing because the beat was good,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, what? You did what?
Yeah.
Oh no, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and we never wheeled it back. We would still listen to it. But I think it's so important that, like you said, I have a wide range of people that love me and respect me and feel safe with me,
Right.
especially the backyard show. I love that. Like people coming in there, you know what I mean? It'd be like, oh, well, I'm gonna go here, and it's just, it's this small community.
Right.
People could feel trapped or anything like that, but they don't feel like that with you.
Man, that'd be such a beautiful thing back there because, like, I'll be watching from my window and you see grown men coming in like giddy, which you
Yeah,
don't experience in the world, especially
yeah,
older black men. But you
oh
see them
yeah,
like coming in cheesing and giddy, and it's like they're excited for something.
yeah,
And I feel like we don't get those moments in life and in a world where we're just like excited for
yeah,
something to exist and to happen and to be a part of it. And
yeah.
that alters morale. Like people leave there smiling and cheesing, like everybody's excited to just be in that space, and we need more things and places and
I
people that
know.
cultivate that kind of space.
Yeah, and I love that you tapping into everybody. Like, oh, okay, you doing this? Okay, I'm gonna come and support that.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
come. Oh, yeah, you doing that? Yeah, okay, let's go. Or come here. I would love to come to one of your shows. Are you having one
We're about
soon?
to so we did the last backyard show in October for the year. We start
Okay,
back in April, so you do
okay,
gotta come. But we're starting a new residency at a theater in my
okay,
hometown.
okay.
So every Sunday, come to church. Every
Yes,
Sunday from
yes.
January to March, we're gonna be just kind of just getting together and getting some good music, and we're gonna have choirs and orchestras and just
Oh, I
different
love
different
it.
things going on. So come
Yeah.
experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's powerful. We need that, not just here, but we just need that all over.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we see it. Everywhere we go, we get a certain kind of love, and we see so much joy. Like we was just in what city? What city did we just leave? We was just in Boston, right? And I had a like a panel, so we go outside and chill because I'm talking to all the people. Like I move around. We go across the street, and there's two guys over there, and I'm like, oh yeah, y'all smoking? Let me get some, right? And one guy is like, oh yeah, bro, over there, crump. And this is an older black guy, at least 30 something. We like,
Yeah.
get off then, crump. And at first he's like, man, y'all. And he start crumping in the middle of the park. And it's like, you don't often encounter that energy in life that
Yeah.
make you feel comfortable doing that in your
Yes.
30s.
In
Like,
your 30s,
it's
yeah.
almost like as black men, as we get older, we kind of start to like, do like my pops, don't be trying to do nothing outside of who he established himself at, even though he
Yes.
want to.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like this nigga recently, he had came to one of the shows and he wore shades. He don't never wear shades. He had some shades, but he's so inconfident in being anything that he not, that once somebody mentioned the shades, he just held them the rest of the show. He didn't even wear them. You feel me? It's like, nigga, you don't wear shades to hold them in your hands. But it's because of years of him like defining himself as this type of person that he's not used to having the freedom to be anything outside of that. So it's still, he still got to work it when he do new things. Like, he uncomfortable doing new things because of who he made himself, who he molded himself into be. And that's how we all get. The older we get more and more rigid and don't be doing the things that we really want to do, you know. But it's like, that's the shit you want to do, because we all are still a child in essence.
Yes.
There's no adult here that wasn't a child at one time.
Yeah.
And it ain't no child in the world who don't want to jump on a trampoline.
Right.
You know, like that don't exist, but we'll become rigid to the point to where niggas that have an attitude toward jumping on the trampoline. And it's like, how do you have adversity to that?
Like,
you know?
are you okay?
But it's because of all these windings of going through life and having to be a certain way or show up a certain way because of the judgment you might receive or who you need to be in your household to make sure that you feel like a protector and a provider, you know. So it's like we have to do so much unwinding and breaking and shifting within these next few generations to just get people back to the state of like being free.
And they, you know what's interesting about that? They don't use this in social settings, but they use it in business formats, and it's called peeling the onion. You have to peel the onion. You may not want to, but you should, you know, but you have to peel the onion. It's like, you know, a kid, you know, once they get to a certain age, you're like, how was your day? Good. What'd you do? Nothing. Okay, like, you know, okay, let's pull all that back. Because like you said, as you get older, you just get stuck in your ways. But also, like, to your point, it becomes a protection mode too. So I'm sure your father, you know, looking around, it like, you know,
and like we've noticed it with kids. Like, you know, I work with a lot of kids, and we the ones, we gonna grab you and we gonna bring that out of you. And some kids start off rigid and they try, but eventually they break because they are a child. But you think if you don't break it at a child level and you get to 40, 50, 60, that's 60 years of being it's like, imagine going 60 years without stretching.
No massage, nothing. You just
you locked up
like a brick wall.
Sometimes you can't even unwind it without breaking it. But sometimes you gotta break it. You know, you gotta break it. But that's where we at.
Yeah, that's where we at. And you're changing that landscape. Everything that was a negative foundation is just being broken. One pop collar at a time. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. I wanted to just get on a personal level with you. You know what I mean? I know you talk about music and all of that, but I really wanted to just get to know you as a person, and I love it.
I appreciate it.
We need more people like you. I'm one of those people outside too. It's like Brian and I were talking just about this show and what I'm doing, and I'm like, the content that I have, the things that I want to say, it's not really happening. You got these gossip sites. Everybody want to talk about something that don't mean anything, or you want to tear down somebody's character. And I'm like, if it take me a minute to get this going and for people to understand, no, this is great content. We need this. You know what I mean? We need to make sure that, you know, it's okay to have something to say. It's okay to be a good person. It's okay to talk about emotional intelligence. You know what I mean? Just all those great things. I'm like, if it take me a minute, it's just going to take me a minute. But I'm doing what's right out here, and I want to talk to good people.
And man, please keep building towards that. You know, even if it takes a minute, because like people don't realize a minute ain't that long.
It's it's really not. It's really not
that long.
No.
You know, it's like when you pull up to Granny crib and you knock on the door and she's like, I'm coming. It's gonna take me a minute. It ain't that long.
No, if
Should
you
be
got
there.
patience,
Right?
if you got
Exactly.
patience,
Exactly.
yeah,
It's worthwhile. It's worth it.
yeah. And then you realize too, you only have a little bit of time on this earth. You're not here for long. And why not make an impact, a positive impact? Like, don't just be outside
Yeah.
sucking up air. We need it. The people
Come
that's
on.
really having something to say and we want to do something. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So,
I love it.
yes.
Gratitude.
Yes, gratitude. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Jazz Area and have a good day.